I think we can start. Good afternoon from Madrid, where we have a warm and a bit cloudy day. Thanks a lot for your interest and for joining this webinar. My name is Sofia Cilla. I work at ESSP, the actual EGNOS service provider, coordinating adoption activities. This webinar has been organized together with EUSPA, the European Union Agency for the Space Programme, to provide an overall view of the EGNOS implementation status, both from aerodromes and operator perspective, as well as a description of the support ESSP provides to those interested in having EGNOS on board. Before going into the content itself, please let me highlight some rules to be followed in the webinar in relation with questions. If you have any question, please write it anytime in the Q&A panel to all panelists. They will be in private mode, meaning that other attendees will not be able to see them. The questions will be answered in written form whenever possible. Nevertheless, 5 minutes before the end, speakers will have time also to answer questions deferred. But please do not use the chat to make questions. Once the webinar is over, 4 questions will immediately appear on your web browser. I kindly ask you to stay another 30 seconds in order to answer those questions. Your feedback is really valuable for us. Now, going into the content, please let me present the 2 speakers that will be in charge of presenting this webinar. They are Sergio Cabrera and Claudia Benito, both from ESSP, working in adoption team. So I directly give the floor to Claudia, that I think is the one to start with the webinar this afternoon. The floor is yours, Claudia.
So thank you, Sofia, for the introduction. I'm going to present my screen. Okay, so welcome everyone to this webinar where we are going to see the evolution of LPV implementation in Europe, from the very beginnings with the EGNOS Safety of Life declaration to the publication of the PBN implementing rule and its implications for EGNOS. Well, what are we going to see during the next hour? First of all, we are going to give a brief overview of the EGNOS system and its 3 services. We are going then to focus on the Safety of Life service and its service levels, MPA, APV1, and LPV200. Then we are going to analyze the procedures implementation in Europe from 2014 to the present, including the latest information from IRAC Cycle 2105. Then we are going to focus on the user. We are going to address how is EGNOS on board, the LPV benefits for aerodromes and operators, the existing avionics, the EGNOS rule in the PBN implementing rule and its implications, some success stories showing real cases of both aerodromes and air operators, and our free resources and tools that as EGNOS service adoption team we offer to aviation users. Okay, so what is EGNOS? EGNOS stands for European Geostationary Navigation Overlay Service, and it is the European Satellite-Based Augmentation System, also known as ESBAS. It is used to improve the performance of Global Navigation Satellite System, GNSS, such as GPS in the present or Galileo in the future. EGNOS uses GNSS measurements taken at reference stations deployed across Europe and North Africa. These measurements are then transmitted to a central computing center where the differential corrections and integrity messages are calculated. These calculations are then broadcasted through the geostationary satellites through the covered area. And that is how it is increased the accuracy, integrity, and availability of the user's positioning and navigation information. As this service was designed for aviation purposes, it is standardized by ICAO, and it meets the stringent civil aviation requirements to enable LPV procedures, localizer performance with vertical guidance. These procedures are operationally equivalent to Cat-1 ILS approaches, but in contrast with ILS, do not require the installation or maintenance of navigation aids at the airports. Okay, and just like EGNOS, there are other ESBAS systems deployed around the world, and they are all fully interoperable between them. So we have WAAS in the United States and Canada. We have the European EGNOS, we have the Russian SBAS, the South Korea, the Japanese, the Indian SBAS, also some developments for Africa with ASEGNA. And it is important to say that the only ones that provide that are certified and that have LPV procedures implemented at the United States, Canada, and of course EGNOS with LPVs. In the future, with EGNOS B3, EGNOS will also augment Galileo and will broadcast dual frequency corrections in the bands L1, E1, and L5 and E5. So now we are going to see the EGNOS the services that EGNOS provide. First of all, the open service. The open service provides an improved accuracy by providing the corrections on the GPS signal, both in the ephemerises from the satellites and the clocks from the satellites, and also in the ionospheric delays. There is no regulatory framework for the GNSS receivers, and it is used mainly in agriculture, in maritime, in road, rail, etc. Anyone that it's not aviation. Then we have the Safety of Life service. The Safety of Life service comprises the most stringent signal in space performance for aviation users. It was designed for enabling LPV approaches, and any user that wants to use this service must be, the receiver must be certified following the European Technical Standard Orders ETSO 145 and ETSO 146. You can consult more details in the QR code that is present in the slide. And finally, we have the EDAS service. The EDAS service is the EGNOS terrestrial data service that provides all the information from the EGNOS ground infrastructure to authorized users. It provides EGNOS and GNSS data through the internet, and it can also provide differential GNSS and RTK corrections in the close surroundings of the rims. And now we are going to focus on the EGNOS Safety of Life service. The EGNOS Safety of Life service is described in the service definition document. In this document, it is stated, as you can see in the chart, the commitment values for accuracy, integrity, continuity, and availability for the three service levels that are defined: NPA, APV1, and LPV200. So please note that these values are the commitment values, that are the conservative values, the more conservative values, and are not exactly the same as the ones that EGNOS usually provides. So with these three services that are described here, you can consult this document in the EGNOS user support website. You can also consult the Safety of Life performances, both historical and in real time, in the EGNOS user support website, just like the map that you are seeing now in the slide. And in this table, you can see the relationship between the EGNOS Safety of Life service levels that it provides versus the PBN navigation specifications. And here you can see a clear overview of how EGNOS enables the different navigation specifications defined by ICAO. So first of all, we have the NPA. Second of all, we have the APV1 service level that enables LPV approaches down to 250 feet line of minima. And finally, we have the LPV200 service level that provides the capability of designing Category 1 precision approaches down to 250 feet of line of minima. And now we are going to see a real example of the use of SBAS in LPVs. So here we have an RMP instrument approach chart. In the upper right corner, you can see the EGNOS channel. And on the bottom chart, you can see the lines of minima. We have here the LNAV minima, the LNAV PNAV minima, and the LPV minima. The LNAV minima can be reached with GPS and rain. The LNAV PNAV minima can be reached with GPS, rain, and a barometrical vertical guidance. And the LPV minima can be reached with GPS and EGNOS with a certified receiver. So as you can see, the decision height is near 200 feet. So that means that this procedure is provided by a LPV 200 service level. How can we confirm this? We can confirm this in the SBUS fast data block that is also available in the instrument approach chart. So here, what we have to focus in is on the alert limits. For an APV1 service level, the horizontal alert limit is 40 meters and the vertical alert limit is 50 meters. But in contrast with LPV 200, this service has the same horizontal alert limit, but the vertical alert limit is 35 meters. So as you can see, this is the fast data block of the previous instrument approach chart that we have seen, and this is served by an LPV 200 service level, permitting to go as down as 200, almost 200 feet of decision height. And now we are going to analyze the evolution of the procedures implementation in Europe from 2014 up to the present. First, we are going to analyze the number of procedures. So in the beginnings, when this study was started, we had almost 100 procedures published in 2014. And this number has been increased 8 times, more or less, to the present when we have almost 800 procedures. So with the declaration of the LPV 200 service level of service, we see that the APV, that the procedures served by an LPV1 service level have been slowed down, in contrast with LPV 200 that has been increased rapidly and has been implemented in Europe with very high velocity. And now we are going to analyze the airports. So the same as before with procedures, but with airports served with LPV. So here we have two figures. The first of all is the one that you can see in red, the red bar, that are the airports served with LPV procedures. And that is LPV or LPV 200. And in green, you can see the airports served with an EGNOS-based procedure. That is not the same because it includes the APV baro procedure. So what is an APV baro procedure? An APV baro procedure is an LNAV PNAV procedure whose use of SBUS is permitted in the vertical guidance. So that is the difference between that two figures. So it is a fact that these APV baro procedures are being replaced by LPV procedures. As you can see, the difference is smaller with the time. So there are 3 main milestones that have contributed to a wider implementation of these kind of procedures in Europe. First of all, the LPV 200 service declaration in September of 2015. I have mentioned that also in the previous slide. And very important, the PBN implementing rule publication in 2018, being the first PBN implementing rule milestone last December of 2020. Then they require the European instrument runway ends that are non-precision approach instrument runway ends to be equipped or to have published an RMP procedure, both with LNAV, LNAV PNAV, and LPV lines of minima. And now we can see those figures split by state. So we can see that France is on the lead. They were pioneers. They implemented a lot of procedures in the very beginnings, and they are still on the top of the rest of European countries. France is followed by Germany, Italy, Norway, Sweden, and all of these states that have implemented a lot of procedures. We can see, as you can see in pink color, that there have been a lot of states that have published LPV procedures during the last year of 2020. And it is because what I have already commented, the first PBN IR deadline for MPA range. So the northern countries have pushed really for LPV in this sense. So unfortunately, the United Kingdom will not be served by the EGNOS Safety of Life service from the 25th of June, the next 25th of June. So these figures will not be published in the future for this country. And now we are going to see the adoption on the fleet, how EGNOS has been adopted in the monitor aircraft that we have on the EGNOS adoption team. So please note that all of these numbers, all of this information is collected by the service adoption team from the different conversation with stakeholders, analysis, and etc. Mainly from conversation from operators, that they confirm that they have the certification for LPV and that they have the operational approval. So in this chart, I want to make the difference between two different monitorization. One is the monitored units in service, and the other one is the new orders that could be EGNOS capable. So the new orders are apart, but inside the monitored units in service, we have the ones that which we don't know the certification that are in orange. We have the certified ones that are in red, the ones that are under certification that have planned to be certified for LPV in green, and we have the most important figure that is the certified and operational units, because please note that in order to fly an LPV, you have to get the fleet equipped and certified, but the operator must have the operational approval from the competent authority. So as you can see, from the beginnings of this study in 2017 up to now, the number has doubled. So we expect that in the future, more and more operators and aircraft will be equipped and approved for flying LPV. So just a comment on this last figure. We have incorporated a new monitoring methodology, so the numbers vary. And that is because we have incorporated new sources of information that permits us to monitor new aircraft units and to expand our monitorization and our analysis. And also the new orders are calculated to be the ones that were placed in the last 3 months. So they are not cumulative like the ones that are from previous dates. And now we are going to address the latest information from IRAC Cycle 2105. Here we have the LPV map that you can consult in the EGNOS user support website. I really encourage you to get into the details, to analyze how this implementation is being done through Europe, and yeah, to get an overview of the implementation of EGNOS at the airports in this link. So basically, the number of airports served with APV baro procedures is 22. The ones served with LPV for helicopters and PINS procedures, that is the ones that are served by APV1 service level, is 250. And the ones that are served by an LPV 200 service level is 160. And in total, the number of airports with an EGNOS-based procedure is almost 400. So this is already a reality in Europe, and we expect to see a fully green map in the future. And also the total number of EGNOS-based procedure is almost 800 LPV procedures. So Now that we have seen the implementation, the service, and all of that, we're going to get the details on the user, on the aerodrome user, on the operator, and that's what my colleague Sergio will explain to you. So thank you very much for attending, and enjoy the rest of the webinar.
Thank you very much, Claudia, for your introduction and also your presentation. Please allow me to share my screen. You should be able to be seeing it now. Okay, in this second half of the webinar, as Claudia announced, we are going to focus on the other side of the coin, let's say, the EGNOS user. We will place particular focus on the operator point of view, but in any case, all the topics that we are going to treat can also be extrapolated to airport authorities and even avionics manufacturers when they develop new LPV solutions for future aircraft coming in the near future. So up until now, we've seen that there is a growing number of LPV and LPV 200 published procedures in Europe. But now, how do we make that into a reality? Let's say you are an operator or any EGNOS user that you would like to use EGNOS, but you're not sure how to do it. You may come across a lot of questions. These are the four of them that we see more commonly, let's say. And this is indeed our job. We want to bring EGNOS closer to users, and so that our job is to identify these questions and bring you the answers, or actually the capabilities to answer them by yourselves. That is what we are going to do on this last part of the webinar, and well, we'll try to give you all the tools to answer them by yourself. Okay. This support we give it in coordination with EUSPA, former GSA. And we support operators, well, basically any user that would like to use EGNOS completely for free. So to address the first question, why EGNOS? Is EGNOS the solution for me? Well, in order to be able to answer this question, you will probably need a lot of background information. And so that's why we give a lot of awareness. We provide a lot of awareness activities like the one in which we are right now, this webinar. Also, you can refer to our EGNOS Users Board website, where you will be seeing the guidance and training material. That all together with this presentation and all the information that we have, that we share with you for free, will give you the means to be able to answer this question. So right now, there's no possibility to answer it. We will have to wait until the end of the presentation to be able to come up with a correct solution for your particular case. In any manner, the second question is still the same. Is it worth it, the investment? Will I have to spend my money on this, and when I will get it returned? Well, to answer this question, we suggest you to focus on the LPV map that my colleague Claudia has announced previously. With this tool, you can see which of your destinations actually have some kind of LPV procedure published. So if in your particular case, you are not flying to destinations where there is some kind of LPV procedure, that case should be studied, and maybe EGNOS is not the solution for you. We will have to study that particular case. And to do that, you can refer to the EPCAS tool on our EGNOS user support website, which will allow you to give in some inputs, calculate some cost or benefits that you will be expecting from implementing EGNOS. So to answer the question, is worth it investment? Well, that depends on the case. So we will have to address each case by case, and after that, you will be able to know whether EGNOS is a solution for you or not. That brings us to the last question. Imagine you already know EGNOS is the solution available and the solution suitable for your particular use case. Now you need to know whether there is a solution available in the market to implement LPV on board your aircraft. Okay, I will not address this question right now because I would like to show you one tool that we have published on the website. We will show it in real time. So just give me 2-4 slides and I will come back to this question, okay? So first things first, why EGNOS? And to answer the question of how, well, whether EGNOS is the solution for us, as I said, you need background information, and that brings me to the benefits slide here. We can see I have separated the slide in 3 topics: safety, economic, and operational. I will not go into detail on each of the benefits. I will just highlight some of them. Talking from a safety perspective and being a pilot myself, I personally find very interesting about EGNOS that the EGNOS solution calculation is performed geometrically. And that means that it is not affected by the temperature nor the QNH setting. That brings the workload of the pilot to a new level, and there's less thing to worry about, which is what you want when you are performing a final approach. And not only that, it provides even more on the operational point of view, because with LPV, you are increasing the chances of landing, because you are reducing the minimal line on a particular destination, and therefore you are avoiding the delays, diversions, and cancellations, which brings me to the economical point of view, because when you are reducing the number of delays, diversions, and cancellations, you are actually saving money. Or also happens the same with the missed approach procedures. So in order to get deeper into detail on the economical side, on these delays, diversions, and cancellations, we have created this slide here, which shows, well, on the bottom of the slide, this graph shows the distribution of the probability of avoided disruptions. Disruptions, and over a year for a particular operator at a particular destination. This analysis is laid out for each hour of the day. In blue, you have winter season, and then in red, you have summer season. But the overall result is laid out on the table on top. Okay, so let's say you have this destination has 1 runway, so that 2 runway ends. On the primary runway, which is the 3-6, we have 4 different approach procedures published, and LPV is not the one providing the most stringent minimal line. You have ILS, with which you can go down to 94 feet. Now, the second runway end, we have only 2 procedures published. One is a non-precision approach procedure, VOR, and then we have the LPV procedure published there, okay? Now, assuming that the weather conditions at that particular airport during summer mean that the 29% of the flights have to be diverted to the second runway configuration, thanks to the LPV publication at that particular runway, we can say that the average of avoided DDCs is 0.1%. And if we apply the same rule to the winter season, we have 1.9% of avoided DDCs only because of the publication of LPV procedure at this secondary runway. Now, if we consider the flights performed at this second runway and we multiply it by the number of average avoided DDCs, we get that 22.86 DDCs were avoided in a whole year. Assuming now that the mean cost of a DDC is more or less 8,000 euros, you may expect almost 200,000 euros of savings per year at this particular location for this particular operator. So this can be extrapolated to a number of other airports and operators. The savings per year are remarkable. Now, let's say we are already convinced, we know that EGNOS is the solution for us. We have performed our traffic assessment, our cost-benefit analysis. Now I need to know what are the possibilities in the market today in order for me to be able to know whether I will actually be able to implement EGNOS. Okay. To this purpose, this is the tool that I was speaking about on the EGNOS user support website. Let me go straight to it. Particularly, you will find it on the Resources and Tools tab here, and you have to go to the section SBAS LPV Solutions Available, which will show the webpage that you are seeing right now. As you see on the first paragraph, this database is fed with the information that we have from a number of sources. These include the OEMs, conversations that we have with OEMs, DOAs, manufacturers, and any stakeholder in the industry. And also, the STC list that the EASA publishes on their website. This information is maintained on the best-effort basis, and well, we try to keep it the most updated as possible, so as to provide operators with the most accurate information that we have. So here we have created a filter already. I searched for CMC just as an example. We have for this particular solution holder, CMC, we can see here on this column, we have three possibilities for implementing both LPV and ADS-B. And when we say ADS-B here is based on SBUS, we have three solutions in this case, but in this case, it is not possible to get the code. So let's search for a different one, a different solution holder. Maybe we can go to Rockwell Collins. We'll probably have more solutions from the EASA website. You can see, for instance, we have this one with LPV solution, an STC that is ready, and we even have the EASA STC code. So when you come here and you search for the STC that is applicable to you, you can take the reference and then go to the EASA website and actually look for it on more detailedly. Here on the solution folder, also I can type down a particular solution of holder that I'm interested in. Maybe I can type Fokker here and then, no, just don't matter. Fokker, let's say. Same thing, I hit on enter and I can see all the solutions that they offer. But for instance, let's say you don't know the solution holder of the solution that you would like to get. Maybe you can also enter by manufacturer. Let's say I'm interested on the Airbus, the 350 solution. So I have a fleet of only 350s and I don't know which solutions are available in the market. I go to here, I set up these filters and I can see that there are 4 of them, two for LPV and 2 more for ADS-B, all of them provided by Airbus themselves. So this tool is a very good one for operators and also avionics manufacturers to get a wide overview, a good overview of the solutions available in the market. But you can even go one step further and performing some additional filters that will give you even more information. So, for instance, here we have already performed some filters for you. This is the list that comes out when you filter for LPV capability, either by default or as an option. Some of the examples that we see here, we have over 100 entries, in particular 135, but some examples are there. The 220s, we have a solution for the 350s as well, Falcons, Cessnas, Beechcraft, Embraer. There are so many, and they are even growing very fast from the past years, and also in the coming ones. Also, we can filter by supplemental type certificates. We will also show us additional filters so that you can combine them to find the particular solution that is of interest for you. So now, and on top of all of this, we have the regulation, the so-called PBN IR, which actually stands for Commission Implementing Regulation of 2018, 1048, that was published on the 18th of July, 2018. The slide we are going to present here on the next one is what we understand is to our best understanding of this regulation. Please, if we are not as accurate as we should be, maybe there's some attendee that has further information or has some comments on the slides, please feel free to let us know. Okay. So focusing on what concerns to EGNOS, we have that by 2030, all PBN will be regarded as normal operations on all phases of flight, except for Category 2 and Category 3 approaches. That is by 2030. But it goes one step further and establishes 2 more deadlines. One has already passed, which was in 2020. By 2020, all instrumental runway ends, offering only non-precision approach procedures, were required to publish RMP approach procedures to LNAV, BNAV, and LPV minimal lands. That was for 2020. And now looking to the future, we have that all instrumental runway ends offering precision approach procedures should publish also the three minimum lines to LNAV, LNAV, VNAV, and LPV before 2024. Sorry. So that is what is coming in the coming years. And if we can also consider part auto, part TCO, and SERA regulation that we have down there, we can even say that this is actually a de facto mandated for operators as well. We'll come back to this particular point on the next slide, where I will show you some extracts from this regulation that we will allow you to see why we say it is a de facto mandated for operators too. Okay. So let's put all these on a time frame. Let's say we are now in the second quarter of 2021, and tomorrow I want to place an order to the OEM of an LPV capable aircraft. Let's say the 220s or the 350s. We can consider a lead time of 4 to 5 years, depending on the COVID situation, but let's say 4 to 5 years as a normal means. Having in mind that the first deadline of the PBN IR has already passed, you should expect all instrumental runway ends that were only offering non-precision approach procedures to have LPV procedures published there already. And that, together with the future availability of new LPV solutions for other aircraft, we have some examples there, the 320s, the 777s, combined with the fact that the second deadline of the PBN IR is in 2024, by the time you get your aircraft, which is 2026, more or less, both deadlines will have passed. You will have more LPV solutions available in the market, and your aircraft will enter into operation. That will give you more or less 10 to 15 years of lifetime of using EGNOS from the very beginning. Now you will also see that how this will be incrementing over the years as the states ramp up on the publication of PBN as normal operation by 2030, which is laid out on the regulation earlier. Now let me extract the three extracts that I referred on the operator side, the auto, the TCO, and the SERA, the one that I mentioned earlier. Here, if I read the first extract, it says, the operator shall ensure that its aircraft are equipped and its crews are qualified, are required for the area and type of operation. We are operating in Europe, so the regulation that applies is the PBN IR. So if the operator needs to stick to this regulation, they will have to be able to perform LPV approaches as a regular means. That is why we say it is a de facto mandated for operators. So from 2030, when the procedures, when PBN will be seen as normal operation, you will have between 4 to 9 years with your aircraft being used as normal. I mean, SBAS being used as normal for category 1 operations, the LPV 200 that my colleague was mentioning earlier. And that, on top of all of this, we can even consider with the rationalization of ground nav aids, because from airports point of view, if they will have to provide the possibility of performing LPV approaches, and they already offer the possibility of going as low as 200 feet, there is no need to maintain the ILS the ILS infrastructure, which is very expensive, and they will still be giving the possibility of going as low as 200 feet. So unless the ILS category 2 and 3 procedures are included on that particular airport, we are seeing a rationalization of those nav aids in the coming years. And let me stop for a second now to give you some highlights of the success stories we've been seeing over the years. They are very different, and they give us a good overview of the different kinds of EGNOS users that can make use of it, let's say. The first one is Air Baltic. This operator, they had to develop a brand new STC for LPV implementation for their Dash 8 fleet, the turboprop fleet. They had to develop a brand new LPV STC for them. So that was a very interesting case. We have also the case from Glover and Aerotaxi. These are chartered operators. In this case, they need to ensure that their destination airport offers an LPV solution in either some of the runways, because otherwise they will not be able to provide them with their client with the certainty that they will actually land at that destination. More or less, the same thing happens with business operator. In this case, we have the success story from JetFly. Business operators, they have the special case, let's call it that way, that when they have a flight for a client, they need to ensure that they will land at that destination no matter what. So LPV for them is very important, and even they will actually land at many airports that they don't offer the possibility of ILS. So LPV is a very important capability for these kind of operators. Also, we have some success stories for aircraft manufacturers, Airbus and Embraer jets, and even for some helicopter operators. In this case, this success story is referring to NLA, but in general, they perform HEMS operations and air ambulance operations. So the usage of LPV is also very important for them when they are carrying an emergency, when they are performing an emergency flight with some with someone in the helicopter that is not in a very well health status, right? We have some other examples there. I just wanted to point out the Kempen case, which is on the bottom left corner. This is an operator point of view. In the Kempen case, they decided not to to go for LPV instead of ILS because of the maintenance costs that would mean. And then as a final success story, we wanted to highlight the transcontinental flight that Finnair performed with their A350 from Helsinki to JFK, using JFK in New York, using at both ends an LPV approach. That is a perfect example of the interoperability that EGNOS provides. So that is basically it. Our aim is to bring EGNOS closer to users, spread the word of EGNOS, guide you through the process if we can, provide you with our tools to perform traffic assessment and cost-benefit analysis. And in any case, you can always refer an email to either the colleagues at the EGNOS help desk or ourselves on that email that you can see over there to request a traffic assessment completely for free, or a cost-benefit analysis to study your particular case and see whether EGNOS can actually give you an added value or not. So that was it for the presentation, and now please let me call back to my colleagues, and we'll start the Q&A session.
Yes, there have been a number of questions that I think it's worth it to share with all the audience. I'm going to read the first one. That is, it asks the following: when it's going to be EGNOS version 3 ready? Maybe Claudia, you can answer it if you don't mind, please.
Okay. Thank you, Sophia, and thank you for the person who asked this question. In fact, the latest update on the EGNOS V3 deadlines and plans for the future was presented in the EGNOS workshop that was held, I think, in December of 2020. And I believe we can share the link in the chat so that you can consult the whole presentations and webinars. So, okay. And the European Commission. So yes, you can consult there the details and the description on EGNOS V3.
Okay, I will place the link in the Q&A, but the problem is that the Q&A you can only answer to the question and cannot make it public. But I will manage to place the link that you have referred, Fabio. Thanks very much. Okay, many thanks. I think although we are in time, I think we can finish the webinar 10 minutes in advance, but I think will be appreciated by our audience. So we are done, and please let me thank you once again for joining this webinar, for sharing this time with us. We hope that it has been useful, this webinar. And let me remind what I also mentioned at the beginning. As soon as the event terminates, it will appear on the web browser you are using for questions. Please, it will take just 30 seconds to answer them. We kindly request to fill them because your feedback is really valuable for us. And then you will have the opportunity to evaluate a bit the usefulness of this webinar. So that was all from our side. Any other questions you may have in relation with EGNOS and the status of implementation, please let us know. The slides will be shared with all those people that have been registered, so you will have access to the content also. And stay safe, and we keep in touch. Bye-bye, and thanks very much.